Welcome to Week in Horror.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
The podcast that deep dives all the films you love.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
The week they dropped in horror history.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
With your horror hosts, JL.
When a shirtless Sam Elliott with no mustache takes out an alligator with an oar, that's the kind of movie I'm looking for.
Eugene.
And we're just casually just like, yeah, so this is probably the best way to go, light someone on fire with gasoline.
Alex.
It would not be an original lineup if I didn't have fucking technical difficulty.
Johnny O.
Now, it's not an Amityville, or where it's Amityville.
And Aaron.
They got manure to work with and nothing grew from it.
News, trailers, trivia, special guests, and more.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Live show every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central at youtube.com/weekinhorror.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!
And wherever you listen to podcasts.
One by one, we will take you.
Week in Horror. Stay scared. Good evening. Welcome, horror fans. It is Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time. And that means it's time for another episode of the Week in Horror podcast, the only podcast that is a full subsidiary of Hybratech. And if you, dear horror fanatic, are listening to us at the top of the week, remember we do this live every Wednesday right here on YouTube. So come and hang out with us. See all the stuff our editor doesn't want you to see. This week we are covering select horror films released February 19th through February 25th. Thank you all so much for joining us. I am JL, and with me tonight is just me. It's just me tonight. Yep, it's just little old me holding down the show tonight. All the guys were busy. I think Eugene is currently at a table read, and Johnny is just, doing whatever, Johnny does. I know Aaron is dealing with some stuff, and I think they're all working. They're all working at their outside stuff. So everybody got busy this week, so it's just me. But it's good to see everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. Let me see here real quick. Let me make sure I get this up. Bam! There's our Patreon banner. All those amazing individuals who help us to make this show possible. We love you all for it. Let me see. First and foremost, let's say hi to whoever we've got in the live chat. We've got Travis Brown is here tonight. Good to see you, Butts. It's good evening, everyone who got a bloody Valentine yesterday. Thank you so much, sir. Good to see you, Travis. Raven Darkstar as well. Good to see you. Rodin No Less Name. Good to see you. Speaking of Rodin No Less Name, he will be hosting another edition of the Sunday Monster Vault over at the Week in Horror Discord. The link for that is in the description. This week, this upcoming Sunday, we will be watching the original Dracula. And you never know, he may pull something else out of the vault. But it's a spooky night every Sunday night over at the Week in Horror Discord. Like I said, the link is in the description. So come and check that out. Hang out with us. Come watch some oldies and goodies. You never know what Rodin's going to pull out of the Monster Vault every Sunday night. And I believe that's at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. East, or 9 p.m. Or no, it's 2 hours, 1 hour. Yeah, 9 p.m. Eastern. I don't freaking know. Time zones, man. They're crazy. But thank you, Rodin No Less Name, for holding those down. Those are a blast. So far, I've watched the original Creature from the Black Lagoon, a bunch of classics, but he just kicked it up. It's a new feature we have over at the Discord. So hang out with us every Sunday night. Come check it out. All right. Look for those announcements in the announcement page. So thank you so much, Rodin. Let's see. And Gabba to you, sir. Who else have we got here tonight? We've got Angel Rivera is here. Good to see you, Angel Rivera. Thanks so much for being here. Sarcasm as well. Good to see you. He's got some real gems on the agenda tonight. I do have some gems on the agenda tonight. But we're going to dive into it. At least I will dive into it. So let's see. Sarcasm says, JL's going to need to have the Turd Polisher 9000 to make this shit shine. They're not that well. One of them is really, really bad. One of them's bad. But the other ones are not so bad. And we'll dive into it. I promise you. But not so much turd polishing. Maybe a little bit. But there won't be any turd polishing on that bad one I'm talking about. Brian Powell, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Pretty good to see you. Cindy Johnson as well. Neiman 19079. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Fred Edges is here. Good to see you, Fred Edges. Thank you so much for being here. Plot hole popped into the chat because apparently he found a break somewhere. It says jail stole my style. No idea what you're talking about there, bud. No clue. But good to see you hanging out in the live chat, bud. Keeping it real there. Tony Regime says, hi, Weekend Horror, lurking for Al Gore's rhythm. Got things going on here and can't join in much. That's okay, Tony Regime. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, man. We do appreciate it. It's always good to see you. And I think, what was this? Sarcasm says, y'all, it's all good, JL. Your previous solo runs have been excellent. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. You know, it's always a bit of a challenge holding down the show solo. I cannot wait for the day when I can challenge one of the other guys to do this, to see Johnny try and hold it down solo, or Eugene. That would be awesome. But it's always a bit of a challenge because you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to go down. So, but you just kind of play by ear. It's like, you're doing it live. So you just try to, and there's nobody to play off of because you're just like talking to the camera. But thank you so much, Sarcasm. I appreciate that. Suit Kettle is here. Good to see you, Suit Kettle. Dib as well. Denova28, another one of our amazing supporters. Thank you for being here, Denova. Charlie Welch, the only man on the internet you never make a bet with. Good to see you, Charlie. Good to thank you so much. And Angel Veras is here. Now we know he has 2 Turd Polisher 9000s because he will burn the engine of at least one. I will likely have to buy a new Turd Polisher 9000 and probably upgrade to the 10,000 after talking about this one, because I got one bad one. I so wish, after watching this thing, I so wish that Eugene was here so I could hear Eugene's take on this, because if there's one of the shining moments in Weekend Horror history was when he flipped out on the Butcher. When he lost his mind on the Butcher, that was phenomenal. And I wish I could hear him flip out on this one. So, but unfortunately, it's just going to be me. And I typically don't tend to, there's some that I've really, really hated, but we'll see. We'll get there. Jova28 says Johnny wouldn't give a movie the benefit of a doubt. He would roast them all. He probably would. He probably would roast them all. He absolutely would. You can find something negative to say about any of the ones in this. Oh man. So, let me see. That's right. Sarcasm. They got it in the can. They absolutely did. Yeah, that's the big kickers. Like, can you at least finish the movie? Can you finish it, get it in the can, and get it distributed? That's a big thing. Get it out there. Get your movie out there. That's really hard. That's really fucking hard. So I got to give him credit for that. I also want to double check, make sure I did some new things with my sound. I want to make sure that I'm coming in okay. If y'all can hear me all right, if my sound is all right, because I did some changes to the computer wise and how it's all hooked up and where the positioning of it is. Let me know if I'm coming in okay, if I'm coming in clear, or if it sounds what Johnny calls overcooked, or if it's still, if I'm off in some way, or if I'm echoey, let me know, because I want to make sure that this is coming through okay. It sounds good on my end when I test it and I record myself and listen back. It sounds okay, but I want to make I may not be objective, so I want to make sure everything's coming in good. Plottel says it sounds good, and sure Melt Jail turned. That's true, he does. Oh, he says it's a lot better, very clear, fantastic. That's good to hear. That's awesome. I think I finally got this whole audio thing figured out. I needed someone like Johnny to help me along the way, because he's a bit of an audio engineer, is what he does. So I appreciate that. Let me see. All right. So first and foremost, the big thing that we have tonight. Yep, another JL night stream. You got it. So the first big thing that I wanted to bring up, because we heard about this earlier in the day, a big, huge. It was very sad to hear about the passing of Raquel Welch. She was a trailblazing, legendary actress that I first, which is interesting, because I was first kind of acquainted before I got into my big into movies, The Shawshank Redemption, when I saw her on the poster for 1 Million Years BC. And I was like, well, who is that? And it was Raquel Welch. And she led me into checking out that movie. And, shortly after that, my love for, my real deep dive love for films was born. But yeah, Raquel Welch passed away today. She was 82, I do believe. Yep, she was 82 years old. And just legendary actress. So if you haven't seen a lot of her movies, Fantastic Voyage was absolutely amazing. 1 Million Years BC. She started the original Bedazzled. So, the original blonde bombshell. She kicked ass. It was rest in peace. But what say you, Miss Fuzzy Britches, or Fussy Britches? Fussy Britches was what he called her in Shawshank Redemption. So yes, but sarcasm, good. Yeah, that was good there. What say you, Miss Fussy Britches? You feel like talking? Nope. Says, imagine sitting behind the roar of an engine for 8 hours is what I do. Damn, Brian Powell, that's hardcore. Says, yep, it's kind of a bummer, but that's just one of the things. I'm getting old, and it's always a bummer moving a name from a happy birthday to an in memoriam in the horror film database. It's always kind of a shame to do that, but I find I'm doing it more and more, which kind of sucks, because I just the legendary, because I always sit there and reminisce for like a good half hour about the films that I saw them in and how much I loved them, and it's just always a bummer, to see the entertainers that I've grown up with, and that kind of brought me into this love of films, of horror films, of the genre of films itself. It's always a bummer to see them go. But yeah. So rest in peace to Raquel Welch. It's a damn shame, but of course we have her filmography to always go back to, and she did some absolutely amazing trailblazing work. One of the original, often imitated, will never be duplicated. Absolutely, it's the way it goes. But yeah, Travis Brown says, God, now we'll have Raquel Welch dropped on top of him, if you know what I mean. God, now we'll have, that would be amazing. I would catch her. My reflexes are too quick. I would catch her. Oh, let's see what we got. Now, this is also something that I wish that the other guys were here, because I wanted to get their takes on this. Because if you haven't seen it yet, a new trailer dropped today. And no, it's not the new like Scream 6 trailer or a new trailer for anything else, but a new horror film trailer dropped. And I'm very, very curious about this bad boy, because it's based on a franchise, or it's based on an original that I really, really loved, with starring Linda Hamilton. And that is, of course, the remake of Children of the Corn. Now, there originally were I think 6, 7, 8, 8 Children of the Corn films in the previous franchise, because, it turned out the one got a sequel that fared fairly well, and then they started mining it for content. I know that the actor who played Elijah came back in part 6, but it got kind of weird and wonky there, kind of got away from it. But now we have a full-on remake, so that is coming out soon, and the trailer for this dropped. So let's take a look at this trailer for the new Children of the Corn.
Prepare to witness the horrific rise of the next generation of evil.
They've been old school with the announcer voice.
Based on the short story by Stephen King, comes the nightmare like you've never seen it before.
I know, it sucks. It's so hard sometimes you can hardly breathe. But I can help with your pain. Brace yourself. He who walks. He talked to me. He took care of me. So now I'm going to take care of him.
Like killing all the adults?
For starters.
Children of the Corn.
Looks like it could be interesting. And yeah, it looks like there's a number of character actors that I'm familiar with that are in there. That looks like it looks intense. Now it's I would say it has a good solid intensity that I think is reminds me of the kind of like the cinematography and intensity is is kind of reminiscent of a latest trailer, the new trailer for Evil Dead Rise that just came out. I don't know if that's going to say anything about the movie in and of itself. If the movie's going to be good, like I said, like someone pointed out, Raven Darkstar pointed out, Children of the Corn has already been remade once, so this is like another remake of the original film. So I'm very curious as to how it's going to go. The actress who looks like plot hole says looks like it's going to be a pile of shit. See, that's why we love you, Johnny. That's why we love you. So I'm very curious. And this new one, so that is looks like Kate Moyer. Looks like Kate Moyer is the one the new kind of like the new Elijah. She plays Eden Edwards. No, yeah, that's not right. I got that wrong. 2020 should be 2023, right? Children of the Corn remake heading to streaming. Okay, so it's going direct to streaming. Very interesting. Okay, heading to streaming 18 days after the theatrical release. So it'll come out in theaters, then it will go almost directly to streaming. So we won't have to wait very long. Looks like, yes. Okay, played by Kate Moyer. Yes, so Stephen King's famous reimagining centers on Eden, possessed by a spirit in a dying Nebraska cornfield. And then this goes, so they've gender swapped the Elijah role. And then, of course, I don't see the adults as portrayed by, like Linda Hamill's, like the couple that gets trapped there and encounters the children. So, and it looks like they're going to play really hard into the hallucinatory stuff with the ergot. And then, of course, He Who Walks Behind the Rose, they call him He Who Walks, which we know from reading the books, if you're a big Stephen King fanatic, is an actual a variant of Randall Flagg in that universe. Oh, Plato said he was just kidding. Just kidding. Okay, so this could be interesting. I'm kind of curious. It has my curiosity peaked. So I definitely will check this out the minute I get the opportunity. Probably won't be able to find in theater. Probably have to wait for streaming. Looks like it's going to be going straight to Shudder. So good news, because I have a Shudder account. So yay. That's right, Randall Flagg. That's right. He Who Walks Behind the Rose is a variant of Randall Flagg. So just like Linoge from Storm of the Century is also a variant of Randall Flagg, who's also the Man in Black, who's the walking dude, number of aliases there. Bruce Spence from the Mad Max series. Yep. So cool stuff. So I'm really, really curious. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be cool. All right. So what say you? We get into the horror films we're going to talk about tonight. So horror movies. Oh, Travis Brown says, wonder if the second remake is going to be more in the Stephen King's OG novel. It may be. It looks intriguing to me. And so far, Stephen King remakes as of late have been pretty damn solid, except for Firestarter. Firestarter was really, really bad. So Firestarter was pretty bad. Plothill says, no, don't talk about, I don't know. Not really sure. But Stephen King's Boogeyman looks fucking amazing. I'm looking forward to that. So I really, really am. Well, normally this is where I would kick it over to Eugene. Yeah, I think his diet is making him grumpy. Damn straight, Brian Powell. I think Johnny's diet is making him grumpy. Randall Flagg is Lance Henriksen in real life. You are grumpy. You are a grumpy old man. That's all I can imagine on that one. See, I don't have anybody here to fill the void, It's like to fill the empty silence, or to fill the dead space when I go to open my drink or hit my vape and there's nobody here to talk. That makes it challenging. This is true, Genova 28. Johnny is Garfield personified. He absolutely is. His grumpiness makes him grumpy. You're a grumpy dude, man. The live chat is spoken. And you out there, listener, let us know if you hear this and you think Johnny O is a grumpy Gus. You think Johnny O just lives to hate. You think Johnny O just lives to, just does the show to spread his negativity. Let us know in the comments below or at weekinhorror.com or at weekinhorror@gmail.com. Just Johnny O just live to be grumpy? Is he fueled by the grump? Let us know. We want to know. I want to know. I definitely want to know. I probably should ask vape and slurp ASMR. Yeah. That's gonna be But then just put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if Johnny's a grump. Yeah, just interact that way. Just put a 1 because I side with the live chat. I always side with the live chat. It's quite possible to know that he does it just to antagonize me. It is totally possible that he just does it to antagonize me. Absolutely. Because somebody's like, haha, the look on your face. So. Oh, Raven Darkster says, neither you or Johnny are old. I'm old. It's true. It's very true. Oh, got some ones. Plot will put -69, but no, there's some ones coming in. There absolutely are. Oh, buddy. All right. Well, we do have some movies to talk about tonight, and I will going to do my best to fill the time slot with the films that we're going to be talking about. Pardon me. See, it's so interesting. One is the loneliest number. Absolutely. All right, so let's dive in. I'm going to stop procrastinating. I'm going to dive right in because we're going to get this conversation going before the energy just dies out. Us trying to make fun of Johnny. He's not even here for us to make fun of him. Our first movie tonight, released February 19th, 1982. The original, the initial Swamp Thing. Let's check out this trailer.
Government agents, scientists, soldiers, master criminals, secret formulas, monsters, and midgets. None of them belong in this swamp. Only one thing does. The Swamp Thing.
Hell yeah.
Here comes trouble.
The Swamp Thing.
There goes the neighborhood.
Adrienne Barbeau and the Swamp Thing, an outrageous pair in the incredible adventure that grows on you or all over you. The Adventures of the Swamp Thing. The comic book legend lives.
Friggin' fantastic. Yes, that was Swamp Thing. So, directed and written by Wes Craven, based on Swamp Thing by Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson. And, of course, starring Louis Jourdan, Adrienne Barbeau, Ray Weiss, Dick Durock, David Hess, Nicholas Worth, and Dawn Knight. And so, if you know the story, if you're a comic book fan, then you know that Swamp Thing is a scientist who was besieged by bad, evil government agents who were trying to steal his work, and then wind up killing him, and in the effort, end up turning him into the Swamp Thing, who is a man plant, kind of like, for those familiar with the comics, it goes way out. He's like crazy powerful and ridiculous. But as far as this one goes, this was a superhero horror film. So one of the earliest superhero horror films that was adapted by Wes Craven. So, which is wild in and of itself, because going back into this thing, it'd been forever since I'd seen the sequel, Return of Swamp Thing, way more than I had seen this one. And so going back to watch this one, I thought it was really badass. The sequel was directed by Jim Wynorski, but this one was directed by Wes Craven himself and written by Wes Craven. So it was really wild to go back and watch this so early in his man plant. That's right, he was a man plant. He absolutely was. It's just a Shrek spoiler warning. Yes, Denovi said monsters and midgets in the trailer. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. This is true. He is so I thought this was really, really wild. Early in Wes Craven's career, he comes across this bad boy and ends up adapting this for DC Comics. DC wants to do something. They're branching out into film, and this was one of the earliest examples of them doing this, because this was 1982. Batman, Tim Burton would tackle Batman in 1989, and before this, DC had the original, the Superman. They touched on Superman, Wonder Woman, and of course, Batman and the Adam West and Burt Ward era. So this was like really a branch out beyond like Justice League and everything, doing Flash or anybody else. They come in and they bring in, Wes Craven to do this kind of horror film, this horror action movie adaptation of Swamp Thing, which I thought was beyond wild, because this film is way more fucking awesome than I think it deserved to be. The script in and of itself, not that fantastic, but This is what happens when you get someone like Wes Craven, who is a master at what he does and can bring unique ideas and a unique vision as a director to a project like this. So I imagine the script itself was very lackluster. It was like, it's bare bones, probably filled. I mean, it was written by Wes, but from what I understand, he was not the original or like the originator of that script. There were a number of Swamp Thing scripts that were going around. He happened to get tapped to pick this one up, and there were some adjustments made, and he agreed, being a part of the Writers Guild, he was able to make adjustments and do it himself. So we got a Wes Craven script as Wes Craven would direct it. Because this film, if this was done by DC or handled by DC, this would not have come out as good as it did. This was wild because at this point, we know Wes Craven for horror, Last House on the Left, and then of course, and I think in 2 years we would have Nightmare on Elm Street, and that's what we know him for. But to kind of go into this one is weird, but it was amazing. Wes Craven had an eye. His ability to envision what he wanted from a cinematography standpoint was fantastic. There are some amazing wide shots of the area. He knew how to utilize light in an open area because they filmed in the swamp. They filmed on location, and from all accounts, from Adrian Barbeau and the individual who actually played him, which was Dick Durock, who actually was in the suit, was murder. It was absolutely brutal filming down in Cypress Gardens in South Carolina. But they got it done. It looks fucking amazing. Even for 1982, Swamp Thing looked great. The monster that he fights at the end, not so much, because they try to give it a more like mammalian face. Didn't look very good, but an excellent fight, rolling around in the damn swamp. These two guys in suits throwing down with a sword is fucking amazing. Everything about this. But what got me the most was his ability to balance what was the necessary action with the necessary narrative, and knowing how to cast it, knowing that Ray Weiss early in his career, because Ray Weiss at this point I think was Twin Peaks famous, and then of course bringing in Adrian Barbeau, who had previously worked on The Fog in 1980 for John Carpenter, and of course Creepshow as well. So knowing how to cast your film, knowing the people to bring in, and I think, I knew he found Adrian Barbeau through John Carpenter, because Wes and John were friends at the time, and so it's wild how all of this fell down really on Wes Craven's expertise. Everybody knows Wes Craven, of course, for Nightmare on Elm Street. The real reason to watch this movie is to see what Wes Craven could do with a film that is not just like a straight horror film like Serpent to the Rainbow or Shocker or Nightmare on Elm Street, the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, or Last House on the Left. You look at all the things that he did, typically where they were slasher films, they were home invasion films, or they were centered around serial killers and such. This is completely outside of his wheelhouse. This is something like way, way different. Kind of one of those movies that you come across to do just to kind of hone yourself, or maybe make the money to do something, to jump to something else. But man, this thing was fantastic for what it was and the money that they had to spend, because the $2.5 million budget is not a lot. It's terribly little now. It's not even indie now, but back then was not terribly a bunch of money when you're doing a full production on location in a swamp like this, with all your, having to move all your sets in order to capture everything. So he really kicked ass on this one. Watch this one for the expertise of Wes Craven. And of course, it begs the question, Wes Craven adapting a superhero film is very much kind of like harkens very much to Sam Raimi doing Spider-Man. Because Sam Raimi at the time was known, obviously, for Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness. He had a particular style and things that lent itself to the horror genre, working like long time working with Bruce Campbell and Rob Tappert. So, but then he comes along and does Spider-Man, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. It's not horror in that respect, like the elements that he tried to bring into the new Doctor Strange film, but he smashed it. That's because that just goes to show that talent can be utilized in different ways, and that the things that make Wes Craven masterful are the fact that he's a masterful director, not just because it's horror, not just because he knows how to shoot a scene like that, but because he knows how to utilize his environments, and he knows how to cast his actors, and he knows how to like give the audience what they want to tell a really interesting narrative. There were some fucking stunts in this that I thought were amazing. The initial one where he comes up out of the water and smashes the boat and the boat goes flying shit was fucking fantastic. Definitely check this out. That's why I really, really loved about Swamp Thing was despite how murderous that whole production looked out there in the heat, people are sweating their asses off, but still giving it all. Adrienne Barbeau, of course, loved her ever since. I originally saw her in The Fog, so we got some comments on this one. Let me see here. So Swamp Elemental. He's a Swamp Elemental. He really, really is. Yes, true. DC does make shit movie adaptations, but this really wasn't DC. DC didn't write it. Wes Craven wrote it, and Wes Craven directed. So DC was not a lot of input. It was their IP, but this was a Wes Craven production all the way, which is why I think it works so well. Because it didn't have that kind of, it's our IP, we have to protect it. And it was like, no, give it to Wes Craven, let Wes Craven run with it. Which was fantastic. Wrote into last name, says original Swamp Thing stories were based on horror tropes, so Wes Craven tackling it makes sense. Absolutely does. Thank you, Rodent. And Angel says this was before DC went into micromanagement mode as they do today. Agreed. This is when they were just trying to get their stuff into a new medium, to bridge or to like kind of like jump into a new medium. You're using their comic IPs. We can make movies with them. We can do take them into other arenas and try to capitalize. Light years before, I think Marvel did the Fantastic Four, but I can't remember when that one was. Oh, it's been a minute. When the 80s Fantastic Four was adapted. I have to look that up again. This isn't a comic show. It's a horror podcast. Raven Dark says Swamp Thing equals man plant thing equals plant man. Swamp Thing equals good movie. Man Thing was a very bad movie. It was a very bad movie. Well, it's hard to make a movie when your protagonist is really kind of a mindless elemental kind of guardian of the swamp, and if it leaves the swamp, then it dries out and it goes dormant until it returns. And Man Thing just doesn't have because Man Thing doesn't have a brain. Man Thing is literally just this conscious plant matter. So no brain, can't really problem solve, just like a relentless killing machine is pretty much all it was. But I will say this, the fucking Derek Mears revival was brilliant. If you have not seen the one season kind of reboot of Swamp Thing that was done, it was put out on the CW. If you haven't watched that one season, you are missing out because Derek Mears was fucking amazing as Swamp Thing. Perfectly, cast for that. That's true, Travis Brown. Modern day Swamp Thing would have got canceled way too soon. It absolutely did. It was just a damn shame because I thought it was brilliant. Let me see here. So totally agree. Bale is, we talk about. So okay, you have to credit Bale for the sense to know about Christian Bale brought that. He really, really did. Really no less names. The Swamp Thing wasn't so much a superhero, but more of a vehicle for strange tales. So I agree. He absolutely was. Which was interesting. Decided to go this route to kind of step out of the So it's like, let's not do something with Batman. Let's not do something with with the Holy Trinity or anybody else in the Justice League, to do a Flash movie or to do a Martian Manhunter movie or a Green Lantern movie. No, we're going to go with this. I think Marvel was doing the Hulk at the time, and they brought Thor into that at one point. So Marvel was doing the Hulk, and I think there was a Captain America one as well. Not sure. And Spider-Man. So yeah, these early attempts for comic book, for the comic book companies, for DC and Marvel to try and get their stuff into a new, into the new arena, into the arena of film. Raven Dark says it doesn't have Howard the Duck and Man Thing. That's true. Corman did an unreleased Fantastic Four in the 80s. That's true. He did. To the pink orchids as a theme. Absolutely. There was really, really good stuff in this. Visually, the film is an absolute treat. From a cinematography standpoint, like I said, Craven knows how to utilize his environment. Capturing, those big open wide shots of this big, the space areas of the swamp, the different locales, deep in the woods, or deep in the kind of like the marshy areas, the bog-like areas, and of course the open areas where you can take the foil boats. Shooting those big action sequences is extraordinarily difficult, especially when you're out there in the heat, you're in the open sun, and a dude in a giant suit, and you're splashing around in the water. But that takes time and effort. And most of the time, those people are standing around to try to set up to get that one shot. Then you got then you got like explosives, and you got guns, and you've got all kinds of chaos going around. That was I believe intensely watching that movie that was a murderous film to make. Being in that suit, especially in the big fight scene at the end, the big prolonged fight scene, but it's made. Wes Craven makes it worth it. So you watch this one for the visual treat that it is. Now, the sequel, of course, did not have Adrienne Barbeau, brought in Heather Locklear, and I think that the suit was a bit better in the sequel, but the sequel didn't lean into the horror elements. It leaned more into the comedy elements. So that became an action comedy instead of this one, which, you know, held on to its kind of horror roots as best as it can. So we did a great man thing on Werewolf by Night on Disney Plus. Oh, Werewolf by Night was pretty slick. Really was. Hey, NA, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it. CPM, good to see you. Thanks so much for hanging out tonight. Saw some new people popping in. But yeah, I found this to be really, really intriguing. So, and it made me wonder what would have been, had Wes kind of like, instead of leaning, kind of pulling back and doing stuff that he was coming, with people under the stairs, a number of other, the kind of like Wes Craven centric ideas where he was in his wheelhouse. What if Wes Craven had gone that route? Directed Swamp Thing 2. What if he'd gone further? What if he became known as one of the ones that could do both? That can, where now all of a sudden it'd be like Sam Raimi doing, based on the success of Spider-Man, the Spider-Man trilogy. Now all of a sudden he's doing, the new Doctor Strange film. I was curious about that because that early, Wes Craven that early on was fantastic, and this was brilliant. And I would have loved to have seen had Wes not passed away. Love to see what he could have brought to the genre, especially if the MCU or maybe even the DCEU, but probably the MCU had made use of it. Could you imagine Wes Craven directing Doctor Strange? Wow. So that's what really got me, was kind of like, if he could do this with Swamp Thing, a kind of, at the time, a kind of B-tier, hero that people, people knew DC Comics knew him, but it was kind of like you had to know comics. If you did Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, if you get those ones, obviously everyone's going to know those names are universal. But in this particular one, to do Swamp Thing, to bring in Wes Craven, absolutely, brilliant. I thought it was one of the best choices possible. So smart decision making on this one. So most people, and a lot of the critics, dug this one as well. I love seeing the good, solid, positive critical response in this one. And not to mention just early Ray Wise, because Ray Wise is one of my favorite actors, one of my favorite character actors. I got to see where this sits. So that's right, because he had Last House on the Left, he had The Hills Have Eyes, and then Deadly Blessing, and then he did this. And then he did Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. So, and then followed it up. Then Hills Have Eyes, Deadly Friends, Serpent in the Rainbow, Shocker, People Under the Stairs. So, yeah, he's got a kind of Wes Craven direction that he goes. And this one's just way out there, put out by Embassy Pictures. And then, wow, just wild. And it's likely because Embassy Pictures is who produced and distributed The Fog, which starred Adrienne Barbeau. They also did Swamp Thing, which probably means Embassy had a role in the kind of friendship between Wes and John, and the working relationship with Embassy is probably how Adrienne Barbeau got into the role. And it was interesting because I love the casting of Adrienne Barbeau, because that easily could have gone to some blonde just a blonde bombshell. When I think she brought a level of, because she has a very unique look about her. She's strong, she's independent, she's fucking fierce as hell, she's hotter than hell, but she's not your typical Hollywood beauty in that respect. Very much along the lines of, at the time, when you're bringing in, even though Sigourney Weaver, hot as shit, absolutely, but not your stereotypical, Hollywood, bombshell in that respect, when she was in 1979 Alien. I liked the casting of Adrienne Barbeau in this because everything seemed almost against the grain, which is what I think was what made it great. Formulaic filmmaking is not something that Wes Craven was really into. I think he kind of leaned into it in his later years, unfortunately, because as he was getting older, things were getting tougher, politics were heavier, so it was easier to just go with the flow instead of against. But in his early stuff, it was always against the grain filmmaking. It was what he envisioned and not what the money envisioned. And he turned out superb product. I mean, his films were amazing and groundbreaking in a lot of respects. So, absolutely intense. Charles Band from Full Moon did a Doctor Strange-like film. Interesting. Let me see here. Howard the Duck was a masterpiece. I do enjoy Howard the Duck. I don't think I need to turn polish on that one. I thought so. $2 million duck suit? Fucking A. Absolutely. I don't think they need to do an MCU Howard the Duck movie. I like him as a supporting character, and we can just stick with the one where, Leah Thompson was in it. Leah Thompson. Oh, yes. Ooh, a Guillermo del Toro do a Constantine. That would be sick. That would be super sick. Wes Craven's Suicide Squad. See, that right there. Such a loss when we lost Craven. Oh man, what was that? That was 2015. Man. And it was August 2015. So coming up on, what was that, 8 years? Coming up on 8 years, he's been gone. Imagine that imagination. Just think about that imagination playing around in the MCU. So fantastic. So fantastic stuff. It's a damn shame. It's a damn shame we missed out on that. But I do want to ask the audience, given his Wes Craven's prolific career and all the movies that he did before before his untimely passing, what do you think is the best Wes Craven film? His best piece out of all? Because there's so many, and he goes in so many different directions, and he tackles so many different things. He puts so many different things in the limelight and uses horror to bring these things to a kind of a conversation, to really rile people's imaginations. What do you think was Wes Craven's best film out of his entire filmography? I know there were some stinkers in there. I know that They was They was not very good. They was kind of crap. And I think, yeah, They was not good. Or that was it Them? No, what was it? I think it was produced by him. Maybe it was produced by him. I can't remember. But Vampire in Brooklyn, not so great. Cursed, could have been better. Red Eye was solid. My Soul to Take was pretty good. So let us know. Let us know down in the comments here on the live chat or in the comments below in the video, or of course at weekinhorror@gmail.com. What do you think was Wes Craven's best? And I think we see a lot of love for Nightmare. Let me see. Angel Rivera says Nightmare on Elm Street. Travis Brown, Nightmare on Elm Street, hands down. Brian Powell, Nightmare on Elm Street. Oh, Travis Brown says, and New Nightmare. New Nightmare was good. It really was. Angel Rivera says, where I really started back in 85. Yep. Sir Cab says, Last House on the Left. The stark and bleak was palpable. Oh, it was. Last House on the Left was something else. That's how you make a splash into the genre right there. Blotto says Nightmare on Elm Street. And Dodova20 says, I know I'm probably the only one, but I like Dracula 2000. Dracula 2000 wasn't bad. Jerry Butler is Dracula. And I kind of dug the Judas twist. I kind of did. I thought it was interesting. Let me see. Sarah Velez. Good to see you. Sarah says, Serpent in the Rainbow for me. Fucking A. Bill Pullman? Voodoo Zombies? Hell yes. Dude, one of my personal faves. Even though, I got to say, that was the absolute best. Nightmare on Elm Street. Him and Robert Englund, top notch, Heather Langenkamp. But I will say there is a special place in my heart for Shocker, because I fucking love Mitch Pileggi. I love his work, and him as the killer, as the electricity jumping killer. What the fuck was his name? Fucking Horace Pinker. Him as the electricity jumping killer was magnificent, and I thought it was just so much fun. I really love Shocker. I watched it when I was little, so it left its impression. But Nightmare on Elm Street, I got to side with that one as well. Casey Cooper, good to see you, sir. Thanks so much for being here. This is well met. Thank you for so much for hanging out with us. Let's see who else. Did I see someone else coming in? Nope. I said hi to Sarah Velez. Good to see you. So definitely let us know the best, in your opinion, the best Wes Craven film in his filmography. He had so many good ones. People Under the Stairs. Ooh, fucking Young Ving Rhames. Hell yes. Good stuff. Yeah, Shocker was fucking good. Shocker was great. I fucking love that movie. Mitch Pileggi was amazing. It's so wild. You watch Mitch Pileggi in X-Files, and then you watch him in Supernatural. Then turn around and watch him in Shocker, and he will blow your fucking mind. Night and day. Night and day. Blotto brings up Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Walkers, or The Dream Warriors. Dream Warriors with Patricia, I think it was Patricia Arquette. That was also one of my favorite nightmares. Nightmare on Elm Street 3 was fantastic. Really good. All right. So let's jump on to our second film of the night. And I have some choice things to say about this one. So the second film we're going to talk about tonight released February 20th, 2007, Dead Mary. Let's check out this trailer.
For these friends,
Hey, guys. Hey!
it was the perfect reunion.
Hey, were you supposed to be bringing some new guy?
Yeah, what happened with that? Same thing that always happens.
Oh, his wife wouldn't let him.
Until one night,
Let's play a game.
What about Dead Mary?
No.
We haven't played that since my 16th birthday.
What is it? What is Dead Mary? Take a candle and you say her name 3 times.
Then you see her.
You know what? It's so fake. You do it.
someone from their past
Dead Mary. Dead Mary. Dead Mary.
crashed the party.
What's the matter, honey? Got nothing to say. You should see a look on your face. I gotta burn him.
Now,
He tried to kill me. I saw her with Matt in the woods. You're a liar.
they'll discover
I'll kill you. You kill me, I come back again. Really? I'm not one of them.
you don't play this game.
Amber, come here. Amber.
This game
Listen, we're going for help. You stay here.
plays you.
Nobody is getting out of here alive.
All right, that was the trailer for Dead Mary. So, directed by Robert Wilson, written by Peter Sheldrick and Christopher Warsmetz, starring Dominique Swain, Stephen McCarthy, Maggie Castle, Reagan Pasternak, Jefferson Brown, Michael Majeski, and Marie Jose Colburn. So, so I have both good things to say and some negative things to say about this, because there were some major problems with this one. But ostensibly, the film follows a group of friends who are embarking on a holiday weekend at a lakeside cabin to kind of like reminisce about things and kind of like whine and opine about the fact that they're getting old. Welcome to getting old. And then, of course, wind up inadvertently summoning an evil spirit, which then, of course, as Eugene would say, shit gets real. The problem is we can't see shit get real because the film was so incredibly fucking dark. This is the big thing. The film in and of itself starts out strong, and then finishes like terribly. Travis Brown, correct. Dominique, swing, absolutely. But I thought that this movie started out strong, working on the things that it has strengths. It's a solid location. It's a good creepy cabin. It's the middle of nowhere. You've got, your CW or your soap opera stars, that are, running around. And of course, this kind of like Evil Dead kind of vibe going on. And you're absolutely right, Genova 28. It is a fucking Evil Dead. These assholes in this movie wish they were fucking Deadites because they tried, but they are not. They are not Deadites. They wish they were fucking Deadites. They try to talk shit. They try to talk shit like they're Deadites, but they're just knockoff Deadites. Real Deadites would eat these fucking things for lunch. So you do need a flashlight to see this film. The film starts strong. Good solid narrative. We got a good classic setup. We got kids out running around in the woods. They're going to run afoul of evil. Classic thing going on. Then at that point we got like hotties running around. We have manufactured drama between them. The fact they're all whining about the fact that they're getting old and they miss the glory days of their youth. Like these guys are in the fucking 60s or some shit. They're like literally like 25. And so then, of course, the obligatory let's play a game and then summon the evil spirit. Evil spirit comes in. Shit gets fucking real. The problem is, like you said, it finishes really bad. And it actually, from about the second act through, is all really fucking bad. And the problem is not because it was poorly acted, not because the story is shit, but the problem is because the film was terribly fucking shot. It was like all the money went to all the stuff to try to secure things, like secure the location, secure your equipment. But the problem is they couldn't afford the equipment they needed to shoot this appropriately, or the lighting that they needed, or the sound that they needed, because things become as you get loud. The problem is things couldn't get loud, so there weren't like loud moments, so they couldn't rely upon their jump scares because, like, literally you have a guy who's screaming when the guy's doing the screaming thing, the guy who's like tied up, doing his best to be a Deadite. When he's screaming like that, you can tell that they're like maxing out. That if they go any louder, they try to like pile down on top of one another to get or to really hit for a jump scare. It's going to be it's going to take people out of the deal because you're going to get bad spikes. It was so obnoxious. The sound took me out of it, and the lighting took me out of it predominantly. Two things that will kill your film faster than Johnny O on this podcast was literally the sound and the lighting. The lighting itself was beyond terrible because the effects looked great. At least I think they look great. From what I could tell, they look great. Like the animated dead body that was talking to them, I thought it looked fantastic. The problem is they didn't have the confidence they needed to either they didn't have the confidence they needed to show everything, and so they lit everything darker than it should have been, but they shouldn't have, because not only did they kind of like hide whatever mistakes they were doing, but we couldn't really see what was going on as far as action goes. We get glimpses of what's happening, and this will really kill your fucking film. This is how tech can absolutely derail your shit. The worst moment, like the worst part of it, is obviously, the reanimated corpse who's too busy, talking, too busy, is like running his mouth, doing the dead-eyed shit. Couldn't see any of that going on, which was a bummer. But you had strong cinematography that knew how to frame it, knew how to shoot it, like the sequence where they're burning the body and his hand is sticking up in the air. It's all frozen and rigged out, but still kind of twitching and shit. That was well shot. Like the kid, they knew how to use their camera. The problem is their camera was shit, because the backlighting, or actually the natural lighting of the background when you're shooting against the sky, and then when you're that close in the foreground, you get jaggies all over the place. And so every time I'm looking at characters that are backdropped by like that natural kind of like that static light, or that static lighting in the background of that natural light, I got jaggies all over their hair, all over their faces, all over everything. And it's like, what the shit? So it was problematic. The camera took me out of the film. The lighting took me out of the film. The fucking sound took me out of the film. And this sucks because the acting was fairly decent. The writing was fairly decent. The cinematography would have been great if the camera was up to the task for what they were lighting, and they'd actually utilize their equipment better, because whoever was behind the camera knew it. Whoever the DP was knew how to shoot a fucking movie. The talent was there, but the equipment was not. And of course, so when you have good talent, you need to be able to express that with solid equipment. And of course, they didn't. They either didn't splurge for that or whatever. So this is how tech can easily derail your fucking movie in a goddamn heartbeat. You lose the fact that you've got hottie Dominique Swain out there, showing leg. You lose that you can't bank off of that one, because every time you frame her, she doesn't look good because your camera is shit. And then every time you want her in an action sequence, it's too dark, especially because all the action takes place at night. And then the film just fucking drops off in the last moments. Worst way to end a goddamn movie. No resolution. Literally, she just stands there and says her one line, "We broke up." And then that's it. And then the film ends. What the shit? After we've had the giant reveal that it was her friend the whole time that had been possessed and was killing everyone because she went in to play the game and was possessed by the witch, and then starts running around murdering everybody. So, and turning them, infecting them and turning them all into fucking deadites and shit. Essentially kind of like a living Necronomicon. That really, really aggravated the shit out of me. Hey, Paracord Princess, good to see you. Just look at the tiny koala bear. Yes, it's our little koala bear. Paracord Princess, our newest Patreon. We do appreciate that. Very bad lighting, very bad sound, not great. And which is a shame, because this film could have been saved by that. This is one that I could definitely see being remade, and just kind of remade and thrown out there on streaming, just to maybe get a few bucks. I could see this one doing it, because everything worked except for how they did the film. The tech is what killed this thing. And so it was a damn waste, because even though it wasn't an Evil Dead ripoff, isolated cabin, evil spirit, raising the dead, the dead, attack the living and, and then talk shit to them and do all kind of dead-eyed shit. Yeah. Sam Raimi, leavings all over the place. But great artists steal. Pablo Picasso. That's the way it goes. Good artists borrow, great artists steal. If you're gonna do an isolated cabin in the woods, pull from Sam Raimi. He's the guy who did it. Pull from Wes Craven, Last House on the Left, or like Straw Dogs or some shit like that. Pull from what works. The inspiration was there, the script was there, the talent was there. Everything was solid. Your production value. You have this great location. If you have a fantastic location, get the fucking equipment you need to shoot that bitch. That's what was so aggravating. Nemo813 says, "JL, did your beard eat everyone?" Not yet. They ran. My beard's not that fast. It's just not. And Denova says, "What's with the whole fake Bloody Mary stick?" That's true. They even bring that up, which I appreciated. So it's just Bloody Mary. No, it's not Bloody Mary. This is something different. it's kind of meta. The way it was delivered made it sound like, oh, this is kind of meta, like they're riffing on the fact that it's just a Bloody Mary take. But those, oh no, it's totally different. I like the way that was set up. See, talent. The talent was there. I guess the vision was there, but they just didn't have the gear they needed to make it happen. Gear is important. You can't. I mean, as long as literally, they could have shot the whole thing within the cabin, and never left the cabin, a la Evil Dead, but. It was a damn shame. Casey Cooper says, must be the same people who have been doing Eugene's lighting in the last few streams. Entirely possible. Entirely possible. This is the one I wanted to hear Eugene's take on. As far as technical goes, like what kind of lens they use, what kind of framing or what kind of lighting they used. Because, man, that shit did not work. No soft lines. Jaggies all over the place. Focus is kind of like funky here and there, trying to make up for the poor quality tech they had, which sucks, and all it left me doing was thinking of what could have been, and not what was, obviously not was. Now how anything was brought to the genre in this. Yeah, we get a lot of Sam Raimi Evil Dead kind of rips on that. It happens, but this could have been so much better. It had every opportunity to be better, but. It just they couldn't get it across the finish line. Well, they did they get it out, they got it released. It was fantastic. Dropped the ball on this one, which really aggravated me because it got me good strong start. Okay, you've got me, you've hooked me. I'm into this narrative. Let's see what happens to these soap opera stars as they're running afoul of this monster, and we can't see shit. 3 wick candles and a flashlight. Yep. Just not great. Sarah Vela says, I think whoever was in charge of the spending needed to be changed. Just shifting the money to the tech would have changed everything. Absolutely would have. It would have made this one at least salvageable. We would have been able to see everything that was going on so we could actually comment on the special effects, like the construction of like the animated body that was talking to them, the use of, the different elements that they had as far as like the torture scene goes. It would have been so much better, but unfortunately not, which really sucks. You see this happen a lot. And I think most likely it started out, they had a really good plan. And then all of a sudden things just kind of got, I think the filmmakers kind of realized what was happening and they realized, oh crap, we can't do this. And so kind of just like, because you get a kind of a sense of at some points in the movie, at some scenes where things feel just kind of like given up. It's just shot as easily as possible. And from what I gathered, just from my experience of filmmaking, the torture scene feels like it was filmed towards the end because all of your really interesting visual shots were all like, typically as the production goes on and people get kind of aggravated or frustrated or bored because, they realize this is all going to, this is just going to be for naught. It's not going to be anything great. They're going to get a little bit of money back. It's just when people begin to realize it's just a paycheck, you begin to see a marked difference in how things are framed, as far as like where the camera is set, at what level the camera is set. Really, really easy, no effort filmmaking is literally just kind of like wide shot, get both characters in there, do it about chest level, make sure everybody's in frame, shoot the fucking scene, move over, do it from this direction to this one, so on and so forth. You get a feel for that, especially in the torture scene, which was just close-ups, back, close-ups, back, 2T, close-ups. That was it. Very lazy. Nothing dynamic. And I think it was because people were getting a sense that this was going to be kind of a garbage film. Or it was going to look like garbage. So, which sucks, which is a bummer. Because there were some moments in there that, towards the beginning of filming, because film is not shot chronologically, that I thought were really smart. Really good cinematography. Really good choices. Unfortunately, the camera wasn't there. The camera spirit wasn't with them. But it got me thinking, as far as horror films go, being kind of the testing ground, the kind of Los Alamos for a lot of scripts, where we bring ideas out there, we run through their horror paces to see what we can do with them. Given the kind of nuclear testing, or the kind of hills have eyes testing ground that the horror genre usually is, what is, do you think, the worst tech you've ever seen in a horror film? The worst tech you've ever seen, whether it was camera work or lighting work, sound, terrible sound, something from a technical perspective, the misuse of of a helicopter shot, when things are like framed weirdly, whatever it might be. let me know in the live chat here or in the comments below the absolute worst tech you've ever seen in a film. Let us know what the film is too, because I might want to go and see it myself. So Sir Cab says Mono's Hands of Fate. This is the legs of Torgo. I watched the estate while the master's away. I remember Torgo. Torgo's brilliant. I love Torgo. Yeah, let me see here. Yeah, so Mono's Hands of Fate, a lot of love there. Absolutely. But definitely want to know worst tech you've ever seen come up in a movie. You're like, how did that even get by the editors? How was this not a reshot? Let us know, definitely. The Shark in Jaws. Go, Brian Powell. Going for the jugular. Absolutely. Denova28 says everything in Samurai Cop. The wind-up camera and Hands of Mono's Hands of Fate. Awesome. Sci-Fi Channel CGI. Good point. Anything in the Asylum. Anything in the Asylum. Plato says Jail's Underpants. The skid marks of these films. Funny. Rono says the original nail gun. Oh! Wait to the remake. Just wait. You're going to love it. I'm quite proud of some of the stuff that's in that movie, that's going to be in that movie. Quite proud. So, because when I get in the kind of like the zone, my imagination starts going. Oh yeah, some of the shit I've come up with. I worry about myself sometimes as a writer. Some of the visual shit is like, oh, this is going to look amazing. Write that down. The director seems to love it. The actors love it, but sometimes I concern myself. Casey Cooper says the special effects in the original Land of the Lost. Interesting. But definitely, we'll want to hear what you think. Worst tech you've ever seen in a movie. Definitely curious what your interests are there. All right, let's move on to our next film. This one. Oof. Well, we got to get through it so we can get to the next one, which I really dig. Sarah Vella says, you frighten me. You are your own horror film. I frighten. Okay, it's I frighten her. I am my own horror film. Very nice. Skooma Cat. Oh, before we dive into sort of Skooma Cat brings, I almost talked about this in the previous week kind of thing, because there's all this shit going around about Skinamarink. So, have I watched Skinamarink do the whole film? No. Have I watched scenes from Skinamarink? Yes. And I realize before I can really comment on this movie, I need to sit down and watch it from start to finish, because everybody was talking about it, and I realized I needed to watch it. But I was thinking maybe I could just catch some pieces from it and get an idea. There's no way. There's no way just by catching scenes or clips of Skinamarink can you really grasp what's going on. I'm getting a sense that it's very much kind of an experimental psychological horror where it relies on sound and static imagery that is like lit very, very creepily in order to provoke an emotional response. I've seen it's very polarizing. One side is saying it's absolutely fucking brilliant. The other side saying that it is like the worst, most plotting trash they've seen in the past 5 years. I don't know yet. I have not formulated an opinion. I will sit down and watch Skinamarink, and I will definitely, once y'all watch it too, because it's fairly recent, I would like to know what other people think of Skinamarink. Maybe we'll watch it in the Discord. We could probably do that. Probably do a showing of Skinamarink in the Discord. We can all get our opinions on, because this one is polarizing as shit. Last I checked, so I'm really curious myself. So there's a conversation I would like to have in the Discord. Brian Bell says, "I know no other way. Go right for the kill." Absolutely. The CPM says that moment when you're writing something truly horrific and you take a moment to ask yourself, there's maybe something wrong with you. That lets you write that shit. Absolutely. Then you go back to writing with a smile. I do. I absolutely. I did that once. And it's a film. It's a short that Johnny and Eugene are going to be filming very, very soon, here in a couple of months. And I came up with a sequence. I'm just not going to spoil it. You'll see it when it gets released, and we can show it to you in the Discord. We'll do a big premiere and everything. But I wrote something for that just kind of occurred to me. I was like, oh, I got to have this. Wrote this like this, and I sat and I had to stop, and I was like, and I thought about it for a minute. I was like, this is just so like, oof. But I gave it to Eugene and Johnny, and they fucking loved it. But yeah, I had that moment where I was like, this is fucking amazing. What the fuck is wrong with me? Doesn't matter, because it's fucking amazing. and that I was wild. So I can't wait for y'all to see it. I really, when they shoot that fucker, I cannot wait for y'all to see it. Jay Vers, good to see you, Jay Vers. It says, what I love is how bad practical effects are hilarious, while bad CGI is just lazy. Absolutely. I'd love to hear Johnny's take on Skinamarink as well, because he loves minimalistic horror. From what I understand, it's really minimal. So it's very minimalistic, you know? So I don't know. I'm going to have to sit down and watch this thing. Really, I am. Let me see. Oh, Sir Cab says, can't we skip this one? Unfortunately, no. We got to fill the space. But this one's going to be, I probably will not spend a whole time much of it, because there's no other voices. It's just me. I don't know if I can spend a bunch of time on this one, because wow, you know. But anyway, let's dive into it. The third film that we are going to talk about tonight, released February 24th, 2015, and we have Amityville Death House. Oh, let's watch this this Amityville trailer.
Kill the witch! Kill the witch! Kill the witch! So bad.
The book. Destroy the book.
Woo! Yes. Did the crow just say no? Did the crow say just no? Yeah, just no. Absolutely just no. So, Amityville Death House, directed by Mark Polonia, screenplay by John Oak Dalton, and of course starring a whole bunch of people. You know, Kristen St. Pierre, Michael Merchant, Cassandra Hayes, Houston Baker, Ken Van Sant, Danielle Donahue, Steve Diaspora, Catherine Sue Young, Jeff Kirkendall, and fucking Eric Roberts. Eric Roberts in this bad boy. And the director, Mark Polonia, actually did a cameoed as the Deputy Sullivan, who was the guy who was popping in and talking to the sheriff, talking to Ken Van Zant's character, Steve McGrath. So the film follows, released direct-to-video, and was the 12th film that was inspired by the Amityville horror. The film follows a group of friends who are going to stopping in Amityville to visit one of their grandmothers. Turns out that she's into like some really, really nasty shit and has awakened some evil spirit. And next, what follows as things go inevitably pear-shaped, what follows is really, really fucking hard to watch nonsense of bad special effects, terrible acting, and just NAS says you lost me to Eric Roberts. So this is wild. Eric Roberts, fucking brother of Julie Roberts, was in this motherfucker. He was playing the Warlock. We never see his face. We only hear his voice. So because all of the movie, all the scenes throughout the entire film are interspersed by like this Warlock, like narrating the movie. And in front of this book, he's like, aha, but he's got a mask on. You never see his face. You only hear Eric Roberts' voice doing like, the witch, like this. It sounds so fucking goofy because it just doesn't fit. And it is beyond terrible CPM. There is no turd polishing on this bad boy. And the end credits was a montage of people to never hire. Yes. It's so what the fuck. It's awesome. It actually be called Pee-wee Sex House. Dude, there was an Amityville in space. They've really gone off the fucking rails as far as the Amityville saga go, the Amityville franchise. There was a dude from Ain't It Cool News. What was it? Fucking Tex Hula over at Ain't It Cool News ranked this one as the 5th worst out of 21 Amityville films that he reviewed for Ain't It Cool. It was just terrible. The only thing, and I have to agree with him on this, It was the sequence where the girl turns into the spider monster. That was the only thing. It was almost like all the money went to that because everything else was fucking was just overlaid effects that they overlaid on the CGI that they overlaid onto the what they shot. So we shoot the scene in the basement. She's supposed to light the fire. The fire that gets lit was overlaid into the scene, and it's very obvious. A lot of obvious shit in this. Really, really goofy stuff. Spider legs coming out of some girl. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, Genova says the chick spider thing made my what the fuck me in a red line. That was the only, and I expected more, but there wasn't any more. Nothing was solid in this one. It was just, this is what's fucking weird. I don't know why this film was made, other than to just release something under the Amityville franchise, under the Amityville name. But there's like two ends of the spectrum here. You've got the Amityville franchise inspired by Jay Anson's the Jay Anson original that has spawned all of these fucking movies. I think it's well over 20. I think coming up on like 20, coming up on 30, I think, of different Amityville franchise movies. And they go in all kinds of weird fucking ways. I mean, Amityville in space. They went there. They finally went there. So you've got this direction, and then you've got the Conjuring direction, which is in the Elaine and the Warren investigations. So you've got the kind of like inspired by true events, and then this direction where they've just gone completely off the fucking rails with these stories that don't even take place don't even take place with like the original house. They're usually just centered around like evil spirits infecting a place, and then like causing possessions, and then like, you know, crazy wild shit happens, like you know, like flies and monsters and all kinds of, you know, hallucinations and stuff. So the only solid thing I think ever came out of it, Amityville 2 was pretty good. Amityville 3D was pretty solid. And the remake with Ryan Reynolds and Melissa George, I thought was quite fucking good. I thought that was well done. A little bit kind of, you know, formula. It was kind of like, okay, they just kind of like rehashed the original with the, you know, with Margot Kidder and James Brolin, but they did it well. I thought, you know, Reynolds and George were great, but since then it has been nothing but, you know, a bucket of shit every single time. To make it cheap seems to be the motto of the Amityville franchise, to tell some sort of scary story. The thing is I don't know why. It's not like any one particular production company is trying to hang on to the rights, and they've watered it down so badly with all of with this cheap ass fucking filmmaking that the idea that there was even an original kind of horror story there, in my opinion, it seems kind of lost. I will remember the original Amityville, you know, the Amityville horror, you know, because growing up with that one and watching that one, the remake with Ryan Reynolds and Melissa George, watching a couple of the sequels after that, but it's gone so bad. I don't know. I honestly don't know why. It made me ask, why has this franchise been reduced to this? Why is the Amityville franchise, which used to kind of inspire chills, has been reduced to, like, we're talking laughably bad effects, laughably bad, well, not even laughably bad acting, just acting is so bad you're beyond the laughter and you're just like cringe. It's just cringeworthy, you know, practical effects, the absolute worst in CGI. Locations that aren't even really like the whole, like, you know, building exploding at the end of this movie, at the end of Amityville Death House, was all CGI, and it was like fucking Command and Conquer CGI. So not good. Now, come to think of it, Command and Conquer might have been better. I don't know, but when it comes down to it, it's just, I didn't get it. It made me kind of like nostalgic for the old stuff because I wanted to go back and watch that to get the taste of this motherfucker out of my mouth. And of course, the other godforsaken ones that I've seen. What was it? Let me see here. Yeah, even worse than Amityville Haunting. You know, just absolutely, because Amityville Haunting was produced by the Asylum, so you know how bad that went. The franchise, this came out in 2011, so it's already, you know, when the Asylum gets their hands on shit, yeah, it's never good, especially when it's so far down the line that it's being trashed, like every fucking Amityville film that's come out. Give me 1 second. That was actually like found footage and stuff. It was so fucking goofy. but I have to look, and I probably should have pulled this up beforehand. But I wanted to see, because I'm really, really curious. The Amityville Haunting. 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, we got Amityville Horror. Fantastic stuff. Based on the book. Directed by Stuart Rosenberg. That was, it was fantastic. Amityville 2, The Possession. Had Tommy Lee Wallace in it. Amityville 3D. Cool. Amityville 4, The Evil Escapes. When they start trying to branch out. The Amityville Curse. Amityville It's About Time. That wasn't too bad. That one was too bad. Amityville A New Generation. That's where I think that or Amityville Dollhouse back in 1996. That may have been when they started losing the plot. Remake Amityville Horror 2005. Loved it. Directed by Andrew Douglas. Produced by Michael Bay. Didn't feel like a Michael Bay production. Well shot, beautifully rendered. Used the house, the house in Long Island. Fantastic stuff. Amityville Haunting, Amityville Asylum, Playhouse, Death House, which is the one we were talking about. Vanishing Point, Legacy Terror, No Escape, Evil Never Dies. It just keeps going on and on. And of course we've got the last ones came out. 2 Amityville films came out in November of last year. Amityville Thanksgiving and Ghosts of Amityville. We got Amityville in the Hood, Amityville Hex, Amityville in Space, Amityville Vampire, Amityville Scarecrow, Amityville Poltergeist, Witches of Amityville, Amityville Karen. I understand that they're just using the name in order to sell movies. I get it. I absolutely do. But this is what it's been. This is what it's been reduced to. Where it's almost like you die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain. And what once was a notable franchise, it was notable for the scares that it gave. That they kind of tried to resurrect back in 2005 with the remake. And here we have this where it's just like, let's just, let me see. Just using the name. You're right, CPM. Just using the name, and it's very, very, and it's sad. Javer says, I'm going to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space. And then they put the house up there too. They absolutely did. Capitalizing on the name with no regards to originality, none whatsoever. It's become a dumping ground. Essentially, new scripts, horror scripts that are out there that are relatively cheap, easy to shoot things, have been, they'll get bought up, and then they just get the Amityville name slapped on them and say, okay, just send it around the house, make a change to the script, send it around the house, we got an Amityville film. Done. That's what it's been reduced to, which sucks because it was a great story. The problem is that we can't go anywhere else because everywhere else we have to go to Ed and Lorraine Warren, and that's problematic because, well, for some, I'm not a fan because I'm not a fan of them. I think those 2 con artists did more harm than they did good. And even though we got the Conjuring movies out of it, I love Patrick Wilson, I love Vera Farmiga, but I got issues with those. It's my opinion, but I have issues with that side of it. So anything that comes out of Amityville has just become it's automatically implies trash. And it is. It's garbage. They're garbage films. Given this, Amityville Dead and Loving It. It's just Amityville. We got some other ones. Just using the name. Yeah, Amityville Traffic Circle. Amityville Litter Box. Amityville versus Jason. Jason is a deadite. Sorry. Jason is a deadite. Now he's not dead. He's a revenant. I've had this conversation before. My question is, given this, the only good thing about this one is the spider chick, and they don't even utilize it as much as they should. In fact, it was really fucking weird because the layout of the movie, they show the climactic fight at the end of the movie, at the beginning of the movie. They preface the film with the climactic fight, and then they go back in time to reveal, but it's like, oh my God, this is happening. But here's your context. And then they flash back and they go forward to play the movie. Absolute waste of Eric Roberts. This was obviously one of those things he could have phoned in and just gotten a paycheck for, and never showed his face. Never saw Eric Roberts. All I got was his voice. Maybe that was him in the mask. I don't know. That was shrouded. I have no idea. But they did that. Hey, Joshua Lee, good to see you, bud. Thanks so much for hanging out. They stopped using the actual house, started just putting CGI arch windows on a barn. Agreed. They did. Absolute just garbage. So, given that the Amityville name has come to symbolize garbage, like crap, the dump zone for some of the worst fucking scripts out there as far as horror goes, because production companies know we can slap the Amityville name on it and run with it and make a few coin. Just tweak a few things in the script and we're solid. It's become a dumping ground for shitty scripts that, companies can make and then write off because they can write them off as losses. Or I would say, no, it's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. There's no or on that one. The Amityville name has become the dumping ground for shitty ass fucking scripts that can be easily tweaked to, involve the Amityville name and then tossed out there so that when they make a loss on it, they can just write them off on their company taxes. That's what it's become. So my question should be is this, even though it's unlikely to happen. That's funny. Amityville versus Predator versus Freddy versus Alien versus Jason versus The Thing versus Michael Myers. That's insane. That would be fucking crazy. And it all taking place in the Amityville house. That'd be fucking crazy. I think he may have literally phoned it in, thus no footage. Totally possible. Here's the climax. But wait, here's the beginning. Absolute CPM. So, and hey, Extra J, good to see you, but if I forgot to say hi. So, there is no, polishing on this one. There isn't. The big thing on this one made me start thinking, do we need any more Amityville films? Should it just stop? I want people's opinion on this one. This, of course, is an opinion. It's never going to happen. They're going to keep making Amityville films as long as they make some coin, as long as they are a viable area or a viable place to make a little bit of coin or dump a script in order to write it off on their taxes as a loss. Just like maybe throw it like, $1 million budget or an $800,000 budget and say, nope, we're going to write that fucking off. We need that for our taxes. Let us know. Let us know. Should the franchise end? No more Amityville films. Unless, of course, I would say probably a remake of the original with updated effects and, the ability to really bring that house to life, the house of 112 Ocean Avenue. Let it die or wait for a remake or just let it die. No more remakes. No more remakes, no more reboots, no more titles. Stop using the fucking name. It's over and done with. Let me know down in the here in the live chat in the comments below, or of course at weekinhorror@gmail.com. I see a lot of people who are voting for the euthanasia. No more Amityville, says Joshua Lee. No more Amityville. XJ says, come to think of it, I believe I would watch that Rumble. Oh, just say, Travis Brown says, no, let it die, put it to sleep. Andrew Rivera says they should douse the Amityville in napalm, burn it to the ground. Sir Kev says if the Conjuring universe folks did it, maybe a reboot. Maybe. Maybe. Brian Powell says no. Raven Darkstar says it died decades ago. Genova 20 says a remake of the original with respectable actors, director, good script, like 2005. Like the 2005 one, which I thought was fantastic. Let me see. CPM says I like the idea of an Amityville film. Something bad happened. The house, land, space station is stained, and then the new residents are infected and reenact the past trauma. Interesting. Which is essentially kind of what they went through in the 2005 one. Paracord Princess says worst tech, robot holocaust, sock puppets, and an articulated arm that seems like it has a rug thrown over it. That's fucking crazy. That's crazy. If you want some more bad tech, check out Cthulhu Mansion, 1992. Check out that shit. Oh, you're going to fucking love it. Maybe not. Fede Alvarez. Fede Alvarez doing Amityville Horror. I could see that. I could fucking see that. I could. It's got to be right, though. Right casting, right director, right script. Back to the original, back to its roots, a legitimate telling of that. I know the whole like Amityville Horror Story thing was a hoax. The Lutzes, couldn't afford the mortgage on that place. It was too bad of a state of disrepair. So they needed to get the fuck out of it, and they conjured all that bullshit. And they fucked up their kids pretty bad in the process of doing it because their kids were so young. But ultimately, a big hoax that to get them out from underneath the debt of that house. Because we're talking, a fucking turn of the century, or no, what was it like? It's like a turn of the century Dutch colonial in fucking Long Island. That's money right there. Waterfront. That's money, and there's no way. Despite what happened with the DeFeo tragedy, there's no way they could have afforded it, and it required more work than was worth it. And they fell behind. They knew they were going to do it, so they used the opportunity to get out of it. They used the infamy of the events to get out of the situation. So, and of course, spawned everything we have today. But definitely let me know, should the franchise end? No more Amityville, none whatsoever. Maybe with a reboot, maybe not. I want to know your opinions. Down in the comments below or weekinhorror@gmail.com. All right. Let me clear that from the studio. We got one more to talk about. Oh, I miss my co-host. being able to fill the kind of like those dark moments, or let's say the empty silence. The empty silence. Oh, let's see here. Jumping into our next film, our last film of the night. We're going to go up in quality. Much, much better movie. I'm looking forward to this. House Flippers versus Amityville. If you have not seen the movie The Selling, horror comedy film about a guy who buys an allegedly haunted house in order to fix it up and flip it so he can take the profits and pay for his mother's cancer treatment. If you have not seen The Selling, definitely go and watch that. That movie was fucking hilarious. About a guy who buys a haunted house, you're not believing it's haunted, to try and flip it, finds out it's not only haunted, it's like uber fucking haunted. Like, yeah, I don't want to spoil anything in the movie, but it's actually quite damn funny. Denova says you can always fill the emptiness with some patrons, JL. Just saying. It's an excellent point. There's something to think about. Appreciate that, Denova. I do. All right. Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. Family moved into Flip House. Love that movie. Fucking hey, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. Love that series. Old school. All right, let's dive into this. One more movie to talk about tonight. We're going to close out the night with a movie released February 25th, 1983. And we have One Dark Night. Let's check out this trailer.
One dark night. You've never been this close to true terror.
Sorry, my mic was muted. My bad. One Dark Night, also known as Entity Force, directed by Tom McLaughlin, who many may recognize as the guy who directed Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. Hell yes. I caught it. There's the voice. Absolutely. So directed by Tom McLaughlin, written by Michael Hawes and Tom McLaughlin, starring Meg Tilly, Melissa Newman, Donald Houghton, Adam West. Yes, you heard that right. E.G. Daly, Leslie Spites, Rio H. Blair, and David Mason. So Adam West. Yes, Adam West was in this. Adam West, Meg Tilly, and E.G. Daly. E.G. Daly, who you may remember or recall, is the voice, a phenomenal voice actress who's been working for a long time. Was the voice of Tommy Pickles on Rugrats and a number of other deals. But also, horror fanatics will remember her from The Devil's Rejects. She was the prostitute Candy who was with Otis when she gets killed by Dom Dallas Page's character. So, but E.G. Daly, legendary E.G. Daly, Meg Tilly, legendary actress. We recently saw her in the what was it? The Body Snatchers remake that we watched earlier. Oh shit. God, why does the name escape me all of a sudden? So yeah, it's wild. It's crazy. Fucking Batman is in. Yes, Adam West was in this shit as well. But so many cool people. Obviously, very, very well cast. So the film itself follows a Meg Tilly's character, who has actually. Let me see if I can narrow this down. It follows 3 teenagers who were sent to a mausoleum, who go to a mausoleum for the night as part of a high school initiation. Right, actually, as part of a I think a kind of like sorority initiation. Meg Tilly's character is being hazed in order to get proof or what to get into. I know it's their high school to get into like this kind of clique. So the other girls are hazing her. They're going to have her stay the night in this mausoleum, and the intention is to like scare the shit out of her. The whole point is because the lead girl, the mean girl, the head mean girl, is the ex of Meg Tilly's current boyfriend. He like left her, started dating her. Now she wants to get revenge by using her desire to join this clique of sisterhood to get her revenge by having her stay the night in a mausoleum. Little do they know, recently 6 girls were found murdered in an apartment that was owned by this legendary kind of a cultist who was also dead, and he's been recently interred in that very mausoleum. And as the girls are in there and the scares go up, he reanimates and as a psychic vampire begins to draw the energy off of everybody. This was a way more of a solid film than I thought it was going to be. So everything in this one was fantastic. Tom McLaughlin got it. What struck me so much, Tom McLaughlin, you can see Tom McLaughlin's kind of like the hallmarks there. He has not gotten the opportunity to direct a whole ton of movies. Predominantly, he has played monsters and done stunt work, and he's done some other behind-the-scenes stuff. But as far as it goes, he doesn't really get to flex his directorial muscles that much. He only did one Dark Knight. Then after this, he did Friday the 13th Part 7, Part 6, Jason Lives. Then he did then he directed 3 other films in 87, 97, and 2001. So he's not really director. He did some television, Amazing Stories, Freddy's Nightmares, Friday the 13th, the series, She-Wolf of London, and he directed Sometimes They Come Back, the series for television. But when it comes down to it, not the best, as far as director goes. But the work he's done is fantastic because if I remember correctly, he was one of the actors who played the mutated bear in Prophecy, and then he also was the robot star in Disney's Black Hole. So he's got a really varied career, but you can see if you watch this and then you turn around and watch Friday the 13th Part 6, you'll see some connective tissue between those as far as how he framed certain shots. And I could see where he got like I can see his kind of trademark visuals. Every director's got their trademarks. Sam Raimi, Peter Jackson, the kind of signature moves that they love to do. And you can see those in this. I watch, obviously we've all seen Friday the 13th Part 6, but if you haven't seen One Dark Night, you can kind of see those very raw elements portrayed that you said that I think make part of what make Friday the 13th Part 6 so fantastic, like the whole RV sequence, the lead up, the tension building up to the RV sequence. You see a lot of that in this. There was also, as far like from what I could tell, a huge Coscarelli influence on this, because anybody who watches this is immediately going to evoke 1979's Phantasm, which is only a few years before this one, because 1982, 79, Phantasm was legendary in that. Reggie Bannister, Angus Scrimm, fucking, A. Michael Baldwin just kicking ass in that one. And the fact that the vast majority of it was set within a mausoleum, the way you shoot a place like that, because they're designed to be very demure from a photography standpoint. You don't want bright. You don't want things. You want it to be an environment or a kind of an atmosphere of reflection and mourning. And so, dealing with the way they're designed wise, in order to the way they absorb light and how they're supposed to be kind of like a sterile kind of benign nature to this to help ease that kind of the emotion, the idea of the concepts of death. And so the brilliance of this was that lighting those, Coscarelli knocked it out of the park, and how to make such a kind of benign place, a very kind of like static, kind of like frozen in time set, to turn that into a real horrifying experience like he did with Phantasm. And McLaughlin does that exact same thing. Huge Coscarelli inspiration all over this bad boy. And also a kind of like when they're inside the mausoleum, the mausoleum, a very kind of like, I would say, meditative sense as it's growing closer and closer to the big climax with the occultist, who starts like raising the dead all around him and draining everybody's life force as being a psychic vampire. The corpses in this were Savini good. They were. The corpses looked fantastic. Really, really good stuff. So let me see. Referring to the narrator of the trailer. Yeah, absolutely, Extra J. It was the narrator in the trailer. Absolutely. Eugene would say shit gets real. In the third act, shit gets very fucking real. Because the girls come in, they drive Meg Tilly nuts. She's freaking out. The boyfriend shows up to kind of like save her because E.G. Daily is like, I'm not having no part of this. So she dips out. The girl starts, terrorizing her. The boyfriend shows up and things get fucking crazy. And then I was a little bummed because they beat the evil pretty easily. From a narrative standpoint, as much as this buildup was there, I felt that there wasn't that the payoff kind of dropped. But I think that was a limitation of script, a limitation script wise. We have so much lead in, so much build that they kind of paint themselves into a corner. Like, how do they get out of the situation? This fucker can raise the dead, drain life force, hypnotize people, do all this crazy shit. How do you beat him? You throw a compact mirror in his face and redirect his lightning back at him. Felt it was a little cheap in the end. But then again, sometimes things are. So it wasn't enough to put me off the movie. I thought it was just a little, they may have run out of money to do a big climax, so they had to do something fast and quick. But that's okay, because it's literally just the last moments. And this bad boy, I think, earns its stripes leading up to that. Meg Tilly is absolutely fantastic in this. The DP and cinematography, the camera work was magnificent. They knew how to light and make this atmosphere foreboding and creepy. When mausoleums, even though they're filled with entombed dead, they're not designed to be like that. They're supposed to be places of grieving, of bereavement. They're supposed to not evoke these kinds of things. They're soft. They're designed to not only be like kind of a sterile environment, but also to kind of absorb light, because they don't want them super bright in there, and they don't want them super dark. So they're carefully constructed as far as color palettes go, and to light them is a real challenge. Coscarelli knew how to do it, and you can tell that McLaughlin took a lot of notes from Coscarelli in trying to portray this. So I loved the way it was done. Beautifully shot film, well acted, really impressed. Loved Meg Tilly, loved her, in virtually everything I've ever seen her. I wish she acted more. Elegant Morning, I love that. Casey Cooper, Elegant Morning. Okay. But to take this place of elegant mourning, of quiet contemplation, and turn it into something absolutely terrifying, takes a very, very unique eye, a real understanding of light and shadow and the figures, the objects that you have within the space to really come off as terrifying. Coscarelli knocked out of the fucking park with Phantasm. And I could see the influence there, but McLaughlin also made it his own. He didn't go too far, but I see he took notes, which is smart. Smart director, which is probably why I love Friday the 13th Part 6 so fucking much. So, and it was a big mausoleum. The mausoleum, bleh, I can't speak. The mausoleum they shot at was at, did they actually say? Yeah, it was in Los Angeles. And I know they were talking a huge amount about how the mausoleum itself, when they were filming in the mausoleum, that it freaked Meg out. Some scenes in the final climax for the special effects, they had to shoot on a soundstage that they recreated, that they had to recreate. But Meg was really freaked out about being in the place. Very similar to, I think, you just got to recall, like Sarah Michelle Gellar was, one of Sarah Michelle Gellar's big fears is being buried alive. And so in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, they did a sequence where she was buried alive. And she was actually in the coffin when they did that, and she freaked the fuck out. So, but yeah, Meg Tilly apparently was terrified of shooting in the mausoleum, especially at night, freaked her the shit out, and eventually, but she nails it. She knocks it out of the fucking park. Brilliant shit. I have to find out which one they did, considering this film only had a budget of $800,000, and they shot this bad boy over 1 month. Really fucking impressive. Hey, Cindy Sue, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. And something that was interesting, and I found kind of an interesting connection there as far as behind the scenes go, is that McLaughlin was looking for a very specific heroine for the film, and he was initially had this idea for this, like, the beautiful blonde geek girl who has a sense, for the sense of innocence and like, but they auditioned Sharon Stone. Dominique Dunn, who people may remember from Poltergeist. Who was tragically killed a short while after that. But then came across 19-year-old Meg Tilly, sister of Jennifer Tilly, who came and knocked it out of the fucking park. And Meg Tilly would go on to do like Agnes or Agnes of God. So many cool fucking movies. And of course, that Invasion of the Body Snatchers remake with it kills me. I just forgot her name. Oh, what is it? Gabrielle, somebody remind me. Somebody in the live chat remind me. Oh, I'm so annoyed. I'm so annoyed. The Rubber. Oh, Rubber was great. Vincenzo Natali. Yes, fucking A. Oh, that's going to bother me. My bad. Okay, hang on a sec. I have to look. I remember Meg Tilly was in Psycho 2. Fucking amazing in Psycho 2. She was great. Loved her in that. Her and Anthony Perkins working together. Brilliant stuff. All right, I'm going to figure this out. Body Snatchers. She played Carol Malone in Body Snatchers with Gabrielle Anwar. Fuck. I hate it when names escape me. So frigging annoying. But I absolutely dug this film. If you haven't got a chance to watch it, this is an excellent one. And something else that I kind of wanted to. This is what's really, really weird. So, and see if you can say, I mean, maybe I'm going kind of like off kilter on this one. But I found out when researching this movie, when I was just, diving into it, there's actually a Mormon connection to this film. And I thought it was extremely odd thinking about the possible connection there. And what's wild is I actually came across a kind of like, I think it was like somebody's film thesis, which connected or basically which recognized the connective tissue between the Mormon faith and this film and the hero or the heroine's journey through the film, and how the methods of dress, what happens to the mean girls in the end, how they don't make it out, but the boyfriend does, the behavior of the boyfriend, the psychic vampire, because apparently I did not realize there is connection tissue between psychic vampires and Mormons. And the reason I found all this out is because the majority of the funding of this movie came from the Mormon church, or it came from a few individuals with connections to the Mormon church. So I thought was extraordinarily strange. Yes, that was how McLaughlin and Hawes were able to finance the film, was a group of Mormon investors who agreed to finance the film for $1 million on the condition they started filming within 3 weeks, because the script spoke to them and spoke to their kind of their faith, the idea of psychic vampires in that respect, which I thought was weird. Psychic vampires, Mormons, yes. It was the weirdest way, but this is kind of like Hollywood in that respect. This is how you get money wherever you can, and unsuccessfully, for a couple of years, been able to try to sell this movie and get it made. Then all of a sudden, a group of Mormon investors are willing to make this movie as long as they start immediately and tell the story of this psychic vampire who is defeated by the goodness or purity or whatever like this, and then with Batman, with Adam West in it. Very, very odd. But the girl's journey, how she is not your typical, like, she's not like a typical final girl where she's fighting against these things, but it's the relationship between her and the guy who's with her, and the relationship with the psychic vampire. Very, very weird stuff. But you can see how these kind of things get made. I just wanted to bring that up because I found that was super, super strange. So bringing up, talking about Natalia. Natalia made the original Cube. Yeah, Cube was fantastic. Nothing, Cypher, and Splice, all good films, all good stuff. Yeah. Teeth was a good dark comedy. Absolutely. Have you heard of two obscure movies? One called Rubber, the other one called Teeth. Yes, Rubber about the killer tire, Teeth about the vagina dentata. Absolutely remember those. Oh, Sarah Vela says, kind of reminds me of Ed Wood. It's just interesting how stuff gets made. a little bit of a backstory on that. It was a group of Mormons that came along to win to finance this thing because for some reason in the Mormon faith there is kind of I guess they dug on the script having this psychic vampire, this occultist psychic vampire that was drawing in this innocent young girl, and she's able to she's able to defeat it it's able to be defeated by showing it itself. That the occult and draining off of other people's life force and that whole kind of thing will defeat itself, and how it's not about her purity, it's about her not being taken in by this and recognizing it, and and it's really, really weird shit. So, but yeah, apparently there's a connective tissue there between the Mormon faith and psychic vampires, which is really, really weird. Very strange stuff. Raven Doctor says, I'll ask again. You probably missed it. Have done the Keep with God Glenn. Oh, we have not covered the Keep yet. I am looking forward to covering the Keep. One of my favorites. We have not covered it yet. There's a lot of really, really good ones. Because we do the show every week, we have to space it out. So I want to make sure that we don't get all the good ones up front and then we got nothing but shit at the end. So I try to space out as best we can. So. Oh, Chronic in Oklahoma. Good to see you, Chronic. Thanks so much for being here. I think it's the first time you've been in the chat. Thank you so much for hanging out. I am Oklahoma-based. But the show in and of itself is Texas-based. Really kind of a Texas-based show. But yes, I'm currently in Oklahoma, but the show itself is pretty much Texas-based, considering the vast majority of the cast and crew are in Texas. So, but the Keep is fantastic. Can't wait to talk about that one. Josh Lee says, must be something unique to the investors. I grew up in that faith, and I'm still trying to figure out how the movie relates to the faith. Oh, it's beyond freaking weird. So hang on a second. So, Touchstone Man was a Mormon influence imagery run deep through. There was something about Mormon influence and imagery. I'll have to find that paper. I'll tell you what. I will find that paper and I will find it and I will link it. I'll put a link for it in the comments. So if people want to check that out. Very, very weird stuff. Very weird things. Oh, this is watching storms. Stay safe. Will do. I don't know where the storms are. I don't know how in the relationship to me, but well. Plottle says 50-50 JL. 50-50 what? Let me know. 50-50. Okay, 50-50 Texas, Oklahoma. I get it. TSR did a pen and paper D&D adventure based on the Keep. Very cool, Raven. I have to check that one out. The last one I checked out, the last module I checked out was the one based on Community, which was the Community adventure with the Evil Pierce, which I thought was hilarious. But yeah, they're really, really interesting stuff. I think if anybody gets an opportunity to watch this one, definitely check it out. Dead Meat. Yes, I am Richard Meador. Good to see you, Richard. I am familiar with Dead Meat, and they do reviews on horror films. That was the big thing. And before we dive into the next section, before we go to the CTA for tonight, the whole reason I like to examine, we here at Week in Horror like to examine films from the filmmaker's perspective instead of just doing straight up reviews. Anybody can do a review, and our opinion when it comes to movies is not really what's important. It's what the film brings to the genre, the kind of where it sit, what was going on at the time. At this point right now, One Dark Night comes out, the psychic vampire like this. But you think about it in 1982 from a historical perspective of society. When you look at it from that perspective, what was going on in 1982 at the time when occult movies were the rage? Originally, Poltergeist. This film was conceived and filmed under the title Rest in Peace before Poltergeist came out. Poltergeist itself came out in 1982, but it came out before this one. So they had to change that one. There were some, at the time in the early 80s and the late 70s, the occult and the supernatural and the satanic were getting a giant push because the satanic panic was on the verge. The idea that Satanists were running everywhere and they were upping things, the religious right, or the kind of the conservative Christian, kind of lobbyist group was making a big, big push in order to kind of get their hooks in and start influencing what media people saw, what media they were exposed to. They stood up, hard. There's the individuals who stood up hardcore against The Omen, hardcore against The Exorcist. That they really, really hated on all those cool things that we grew up with, that things that are protected by free speech. this big kind of like this pervasive sense that there was evil lurking behind all these corners, and that movies just bring them out to us and make us more they make us more comfortable with them. And being more comfortable with them, we are less likely to, point them out, less likely to fight the evil. We're more, accommodating of the evil, and therefore less Christ-like. Therefore, we all go to hell, blah, 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 and all that other nonsense. One Dark Night was one in a long stream of a cult base, because they make a big point in the movie of saying he's an occultist. That's what he is that he's playing with dark forces. That's a big thing. It's not just that he's a psychic vampire, it's that he used dark magic and dark forces and the occult to make himself into a psychic vampire. So the idea of the occult there, the big press on that, and its effect on others, and how it drives people to do these kind of evil things to one another. There was a big push in the late 70s and the early 80s, going almost into the 90s, about we need to really get this narrative out there. Think of movies like Mazes and Monsters with Tom Hanks, one of his earliest films. Around the same time, the big push of the occult, how Dungeons and Dragons leads people to do crazy shit and believe in fantasy worlds and magic and demons and monsters and dragons. Dave Arnson, Gary Gygax were saying this. Yeah, that whole thing. There was a big culture shift in the early 80s. Very similar to the culture shift of violent video games, pressed by that Jack asshole in Florida, who was like, violent video games caused this. Marilyn Manson, in the Columbine tragedy. They'll always try to connect something to this. They'll always try to connect, before then it was books, then it was radio, then it was television, then it was films, inspiring these things. And that's what's wild about it. And fortunately, we have the First Amendment. We have individuals that are able to push boundaries, and this is what has made the genre so amazing. But yeah, you'll see those culture trends. Well, they'll trend towards aliens. They trend towards the occult itself, like witchcraft. They trend towards monsters. They trend towards possession horrors or paganism. See a big push in paganism as of late. So, and then of course, sometimes your body horror. When people, when transhumanism or the singularity become talking, like that, how we start looking into, altering our bodies and shit. You'll always get these culture shifts, which are amazing. You can see them ebb and flow as it's kind of like the cultural panic dies down. So, Casey Cooper says every mass murderer drank milk at some. Every mass murderer drank milk at some time. Think about it. Was Mazes and Monsters only a TV film? Fear-inducing cult classics. It's what it was about. Absolutely chronic. Excellent point. And televangelists were getting exposed. Exactly, Joshua Lee. Televangelists were getting exposed, and they're always like that. They fell to dark forces. They fell into their sin. Blah blah blah. So yeah, you'll see these things go. I mean, there's a reason why we got an Amityville Karen, because Karens were fucking hot at the time, and it wasn't the only one. There were other horror films. Multiple horror films that had like a Karen as a theme. Fucking insane. But yeah, One Dark Night is representative. It's just, the thing is, it's one of the better ones. This one was really solid. An excellent initial effort by Tom McLaughlin. And then, of course, Meg Tilly, E.G. Daly, Adam West. So many good fucking actors in this. Really talented stuff. And I really loved it. Not to mention, the bad guy in this, the occultist, was Russian. They make a big point of that he's a famed Russian occultist. Karl Raymarsovich, okay? Or Raymar, or Karl Raymarsovich Raymar. So Karl Raymar, the Russian occultist. What was going on in 1982? Got to demonize the Ruskies somehow. Big stuff like that. Little points like that inform the narrative, which is interesting. Sir Cadam says, Nazis drank water, therefore water causes Nazis. Yeah, good point. I have sinned against you, my God. Yep, subliminal messages throughout, all kinds of little things. The fact that look at the outfit that Meg Tilly is wearing throughout the film. Okay, it's not the jacket that she's wearing, because she should, one of the sisterhood jackets, but the outfit she brings into the mausoleum. It's all, like little bits and pieces, but that's where the narrative is. Interesting stuff to keep your eyes open for, so you can see the level of detail that were brought into this. So, excellent stuff. But I want to ask, as far as vampire horrors go, this was a psychic vampire. What is the audience's favorite use of vampires in horror? I would say vampire movie, but sometimes vampires aren't always the focus. So, favorite use of vampires in horror? Well, which film has that for you? Let me know, live chat, or in the course of the comments below. or of course at weekinhorror@gmail.com. What do you think? What is your favorite vampire like horror film or the use of vampires in horror film? Let me know. We'd like to know. Sir Cab says Lost Boys. Fantastic. Near Dark is up there for me as well. Love Near Dark. Whoo, Queen of the Damned. Fucking A. Chronic and Oak says Queen of the Damned. Hell yeah. Blade 1 or 2. Whoop, yep. And we've got one of those coming up here pretty soon. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Genova. Fantastic. All right. Well, you know what time it is, people. It is about that time. It is, of course, trivia time. Thank you, Alex. It is trivia time. So, the time that you all been waiting for. I know you all sit through and you listen to me. You listen to us chatter about fucking movies and stuff. Shut up. Take that evil back, plot hole. Blade 3. So, yes. Here we go. Trivia time. So, if you get the answer to this trivia question correct, you will win a mystery item from the Week in Horror store. Something very, very cool. Unfortunately, for our previous winners, those items are going out slowly. Teespring let me know that they are suffering some kind of like freaking delay thing, and things are not going out as quickly as we'd want. So, to my previous winners that I have on the list, to Denova and Angel Rivera, your items are on the way. And I'm sorry for the delay, but I've checked, and Teespring has been kind of flaky. We may have to find a new one, a new distributor, but Teespring has worked so well. Hopefully they get it figured out. Hopefully. Plato says Sam Raimi is the answer. You'd be incorrect, sir. So, but the correct answer, the person who gets the correct answer to this trivia question tonight gets, as soon as I pull up the live chat so I can make sure everybody's doing their thing. Let me say blah, blah, blah. Let me go here. Make sure the volume's down. Oh, you heard me. Yep. Here we go. And we're going to switch to the live chat. Thank you, Angel. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Try to stay on top of them. Oh, just wrote it last name. It's a trick question. Lemmy is God. Fucking A. Trick question. Lemmy is God. All right. So, the first person to get the correct answer to this in the live chat wins a mystery item from the Week in Horror store. So one of the items from the Week in Horror store, we have so much there. We have very cool things. We got stickers, we've got t-shirts, we've got drinkware, we've got the hoodie, the Week in Horror hoodie. Everybody fucking loves because it's amazing. So here we go. Get those Google fingers ready. Flex those Google fingers. Get ready to practice your Google foo. The trivia question tonight is, what original Swamp Thing actor returned for the CW Swamp Thing series? That question again is, what original Swamp Thing actor returned for the CW Swamp Thing series? First correct answer in the live chat gets a mystery item from the Week in Horror store. Sir Cab says my answer is Lance Henriksen. Incorrect, sir, because he wasn't in the original Swamp Thing. What do we got? CPM says Derek Mears. Incorrect. Sorry about that, CPM. Because Derek Mears wasn't in the original Swamp Thing. Joshua Lee says Durdock. Incorrect. Denova28 is the first one in there with Adrian Barbeau. Yes. Adrian Barbeau was the original Swamp Thing, was the love interest in the original Swamp Thing, and returned for the Derek Mears led CW which only lasted one season, which was a goddamn travesty. So congratulations. Let me bring it up here. Congratulations to Denova28. Make sure I get that down. That's the second one you've won this month, bud. 28, and then we'll get that printed and out to you ASAP. Fan-friggin-tastic. So congratulations to Denova28. Well done. Yes, Adrian Barbeau returned for it briefly. God, I love her so much. Loved her since The Fog. I loved her in The Fog. I loved her in, and if you haven't seen her in Carnival, definitely check out Carnival. Denova is, oh, no, he's not. You can get your own stuff. Johnny, you work for the company. Get your own. All right. Congratulations, Denova. We'll get that printed and shipped out to you ASAP. Well done. Well done. Cindy Sue says, Jails, where's my stuff that I won 3 or 4 weeks ago? Cindy Sue. Let me see something here real quick. Was it back in January? I always try to make sure everybody gets their stuff. Episode 418, Cindy Sue. Let me double check because I have an email that's shipped. So Cindy, let me know if that's arrived. If not, let me contact Teespring. They've been having, like I said, they've been having some trouble, but I have it listed that it was shipped. So, and I have the email saying it was shipped. So let me look into it. But keep an eye out. Definitely keep an eye out. But thank you for letting me know. Absolutely. Yeah, to know if you won 2 things. Like I said, freaking Teespring. They're killing me. Rodent says, technically I can't compete anymore due to Monster Vault. You absolutely can, Rodent. You absolutely can compete. Just be, you're showing movies. You volunteered to show movies in to show the Monster Vault in the Weekend Horror Discord. But you are still eligible to compete, bud. You absolutely are. You are. So thank you so much, Nova28. Congratulations. This was fantastic. So that will close out another episode of the Week in Horror podcast. Thank you all so much for joining us. We truly hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, smash those like and subscribe buttons and be sure to hit that bell so you never miss a future episode. Join us next week when we look back at the Jewish supernatural horror, The Vigil, the return of Jack the Ripper in The Legend of Bloody Jack, the South African slasher film The Demon, and the undead disaster horror The Burning Dead. Check out those posters that we put up in the YouTube section, in our community section. And definitely throw a like over there, comment there, which one you're looking forward to. Those interactions really, really help us with the algorithm and everything. Be sure to check out Joshua Olsen's store at badsamurai.store. He does all the awesome artwork that you see splattered all over our merch, which you can find over at Teespring. And for more from Week in Horror, check out all the bloody links that are down in the description. Follow us on the socials for the Daily Splatter, your daily horror recommendation. Join our Discord for watch parties, big announcements, and play all kinds of horror shenanigans with us, and support the show through our PayPal link or through our Patreon. You can join the higher tiers for early content access and behind-the-scenes fun with the cast and crew, or even just support us for the show for as little as $1 a month. What are you waiting for? Join us. And as always, thank you all so much for being the greatest audience a podcast could have. We love you all so very, very much. I am JL. This has been Week in Horror. And we will see you next week. And as always, stay scared.